Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Luckiest Peach podcast. I'm your host, Rachel, the Lucky Peach. I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. This episode almost went up late. I have been very, very depressed. Very, very depressed. But I woke up this morning and said, I need to get this over with. So I'm doing it. Yeah. If you looked at the title, or if you listened to last week's episode, you'll notice that I have discontinued the drunk commentaries. Yeah, life is just too hectic for me right now to try and schedule those and get them recorded and stuff. So, for my own sake, I canceled them. And for now, what I'm gonna be doing to replace them is reviewing a film from my personal collection. So, like, my Criterion Blu-rays, my Arrow Blu-rays, my regular Blu-rays, all those. Anything that I own, I will be reviewing. So, that being said, I don't know. I guess aside from my depression, there's one life update that's interesting. I got a promotion at work, so there's that. There's one good thing that's happened to me recently. But anyways, I don't have much else to say, so I'm just gonna get right into it. So today, I'm sorry, I forgot how to talk. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Sátántangó. Oh, I'm trying to look at the Sátántangó. Sátántangó. Yeah, this one I guess is kind of a loophole because when I watched this movie, I didn't own it, but my Blu-ray for it came in like a few days after I finished watching it, and like right after I decided I was gonna review stuff from my personal collection. So I guess not a loophole because it is in my personal collection. I have the Blu-ray for it. I don't know. But I was like, I just watched it. I have the Blu-ray now. And I want everyone to know that I have watched it, so I'm gonna review it. But anyways, so Sátántangó, meaning Satan's Satan's Tango, is a 1994 Hungarian drama film directed by Béla Tarr. Shot in black and white, it runs for more than 7 hours. It is based on the 1985 novel Sátántangó by Hungarian novelist Laszlo Krasznahorkai. I apologize if I mispronounce that. Who had been providing Tarr with stories since his 1988 film Damnation. Tarr had wanted to make the film since 1985 but was unable to proceed with the production due to the strict political environment in Hungary. So there's that. Yeah, so it's directed by Béla Tarr, written by Béla Tarr and Laszlo Krasznahorkai. The story, though, is by Mihaly Vig, Peter Dovai, Barna Mihok. It is produced by Georgi Feher, Joachim von Vettinghoff, Ruth Waldberger. Cinematography is by Gabor Matvicki. It's edited by Agnes Hranitsky. The music is by Mihaly Vig. It released February 8th, 1994. The runtime is 439 minutes, which is like, it's like 7 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah. So, the plot. In a desolate Hungarian village after the collapse of a collective farm, Futaki is trysting with Mrs. Schmidt as he is awakened at dawn by the ringing of church bells. Mr. Schmidt conspires with another coworker named Krana to steal the villagers' money and flee to another part of the country. As Futaki is sneaking out of the Schmidt home, he overhears Schmidt's plans, after which he demands to become part of the scheme, all of this being watched by a lonely drunken man known as the Doctor, who writes the events down in a notebook. However, the conspiracy falls when rumors spread across the village that the charismatic and manipulative Irimas, a former co-worker who had been presumed dead, is returning with his friend Petrina. Petrina, that's the end of the sentence. Meanwhile, Irimas and Petrina make a secret deal with the police captain in a nearby city to spy on the village community. They are welcomed by their young ally, Sani Horgos, with whom they had made a deal so that Sani would spread word among the villagers that the two had died. At the village, the doctor discovers he has run out of fruit brandy. Unaccustomed to leaving his house, he decides to go out to buy liquor nonetheless. Outside, he is met with hostile weather and the arrival of night. He meets Sani's older sisters, who are destitute prostitutes. Approaching the local tavern to purchase his brandy, he is accosted by Estique, Sani's little sister, a lonely, mentally ill girl whose father hanged himself. Estique desperately reaches out for his help in a state of emotional tension, reacting angrily to the child's pleas. The doctor reconsiders and naively tries to apologize as the girl leaves and disappears in the darkness. Chasing after her, the doctor passes out and collapses in a nearby wood and is found in the morning by the town's conductor, who takes him to a hospital. The morning before the doctor left his house, Estique is tricked by her older brother Sani into planting a money tree in the forest. She tortures and poisons her cat to death and carries its corpse to the money tree, which she finds has been dug up. After finding out she has been deceived by her brother, who has reclaimed the money, she succumbs to silent despair. Marauding through the woods, the girl approaches the local tavern and peers through its window, where most of the villagers dance to accordion music, unaware of the peeping child. Afterwards, she encounters the doctor and cries out for his help to save her cat. Rebuffed, she retreats into an abandoned ruin, fatally poisons herself, and finally dies. The following day, Urimas arrives at the village while Estique's funeral is being held. Feigning grief, Urimas tells the villagers they were all guilty of Estique's death and talks them into handing him all the money of their proposed venture in order to start a new collective farm in a nearby village. The villagers, except for the innkeeper and the doctor, walk together, wheeling their few belongings to a distant abandoned building where they collapse into sleep, whereupon the narrator describes the dreams each of them has. Meanwhile, Irmas and Petrina meet with an accomplice in a nearby city to acquire a large amount of explosives for reasons they never explicitly explained. Next morning, when Irmas is late, the villagers decide they have been duped by Irmas and fight among themselves. Schmidt and Kraner accuse Futaki of having let them into this trap and demand that he return their money. As they beat him up, Urimas arrives, scolds them for their squabbling, and tells them that his plan to establish a new farm has been delayed by the authorities and that their only hope is to scatter around the country for an unspecified amount of time. Kraner demands that Urimas give their money back. Urimas does so, but expresses his disappointment at their lack of trust and unreliability, shaming Kraner into once more giving his money to him. Irimas, Petrina, and Sani drive the villagers and their belongings to the truck to the city, where Irimas assigns The Schmidts, the Kreiners, and the Haliskas, um, different towns and different tasks. Each gives them each 1,000 forints and dismisses them. Futaki, however, tells Iramus that he would rather find a job as a watchman, takes his 1,000 forints, and leaves on his own. The fate of the headmaster remains unclear. The police receive Iramus's devastating report about the villagers' poor abilities and defects and decide to rewrite it in a less vulgar manner before filing it away and leaving. The doctor returns home after 13 days in the hospital, unaware that Iramus has taken the entire community away with him. He sits down to write his notes, assuming that all his neighbors are snoring on their beds. He suddenly hears the same bells tolled that woke Futaki in the beginning of the film. The doctor leaves his house again to investigate the ruined church from which the sound bells comes. Because the bell tower is not supposed to be working. Oh, okay. He discovers a madman inside the ruins, striking a bell clapper with a metal rod like a gong and shouting endlessly that the Turks are coming. Frightened, the doctor returns home and proceeds to board up the window in front of his desk, plunging himself into total darkness as he sits and writes the narration which begins the film. The tolling of the church bells continues throughout the last part of the film and the displaying of the end credits. I mean, honestly, there are some shorter films that have plots that long. But anyways, the cast is Mihaly Vig as Irmas, Puti Horvat as Patrina, Laszlo Lugosi as Schmidt, Eva Almasi Albert as Mrs. Schmidt, Janos Thursi as Craner, Iren Shachki as Mrs. Craner, Alfred Jarai as Halix, B. Miklos Shekeli as Futaki, Elizabeth Gal as Mrs. Halix, Erica Balk as Estique, Peter Berling as the doctor, Zoltan Komodi as the innkeeper, and Peter Dobai as the police captain. So, the structure of the film is based on that of the novel, which borrows, as the title suggests, from tango. The film is broken into 12 parts and does not always move chronologically, as it follows the tango scheme of going 6 moves forward, then 6 back. The 12 parts are titled as followed. The news is they are coming. We are resurrected, knowing something. The job of the spider 1. Unraveling. The job of the spider 2. Erie Musk gives a speech. The perspective from the front. Going to heaven, having nightmares. The perspective from the rear. Just trouble and work. The circle closes. The film is composed of long takes, a trait found in Tarr's work. Tarr's adoption of this style has led many people to draw parallels between Tarr, Andrei Tarkovsky, and Theo Angelopoulos, all of whom use very long takes and let their films play out at a slow pace. According to Tarr himself, there are roughly only 150 shots in the entire film. Several shots last nearly 10 minutes, such as dance sequences during which the camera rarely moves, but we see the main characters dance and drink. Tarr said that the cast was actually drunk during these scenes. The opening shot, in which the camera tracks alongside a herd of cows, lasts nearly 8 minutes. These are shots depicting main characters. There are shots depicting main characters walking and talking for minutes at a time, unimpeded by a cut. The film was based on literary sources and had a screenplay, but much of it was still improvised on set. Tarr had this to say on the subject of having a screenplay, but on his filming method in general. Quote, "No, we never use the script. We just write it for the foundations and the producers, and we use it when looking for the money. The pre-production is a very simple thing. It takes always a minimum of 1 year. We spend a year looking all around, and we see everything. We have a story, but I think the story is only a little part of the whole movie." End quote. The omniscient narrator can be heard at several points throughout the film, textually quoting parts of the novel. It also adapts every single one of the moments in the book, leaving nothing out. So this is like a perfect, like 100% adaptation. Molly Vig, who plays Irmas in the film, was Béla Tarr's film composer since working on Almanac of Fall in 1984 until the director's retirement in 2011 with the film The Turin Horse. Oh, he retired with The Turin Horse. Oh my god, I didn't know that. Holy shit. Tarr has described this collaboration with Vig, as well as that of with his wife and editor Agnes Kranitsky and cinematographer Fred Kellerman, as collaborative filmmaking in which each one of their individual works stands as a relevant production of its own. As with Damnation and all of Tarr's work since 1994, Sátántangó utilizes a small set of original compositions by Vig that play strategic points in the film to establish connections between themes or situations. For Sátántangó, Vig composed a type of score that has been described as carnivalesque by Tim Brayton. It is composed of melancholic and haunting accordion themes reminiscent of a slow and repetitive tango. The most prominent musical theme of the film is Rain 2, which is featured at most of the film's signature moments. 3 tango suites play at once as separate moments of the film: Galicia and May I Have This Tango, and The Job of the Spider 2, while the villagers feast as Estique watches from outside the bar, and Circle Dance 2 as after the villagers arrive at the new building that is supposed to be their farm, while the camera goes through their faces and emotions. Additionally, the unearthly sound of distant church bells plays several times throughout the film. In the 2009 compilation Music from the Films of Béla Tarr, all the mentioned tracks appear, and the latter is listed as Bell 1 and Bell 2. As with the novel upon which it is based, Sátántangó deals with strong pessimistic philosophical themes surrounding the absence of authority, the prevalence of nihilism, and the evils of indifference. The opening shot, lasting up to 6 minutes, depicts a vast herd of cows wandering in a desolate farm and then vanishing in the distance. Although the scene is largely seen as an establishment of the area and the farm's ambience, several reviewers thought that it symbolizes the outcome of the story. In the chapter We Are Resurrected, Irmas and Petrina broker a deal with the captain that will lead to the inevitable death or imprisonment of the villagers. The captain does not appear to be comfortable with the lack of empathy and sociopathic conduct of Irmas. For this reason, the captain delivers an extended monologue about the importance of authority, quoting Pericles on the subjects of order and freedom. Some authors have judged the figure of the captain to represent a symbol of authoritarianism during the Hungarian People's Republic. Regarding the film's most prominent theme, the character of Irmas can be seen wielding a godlike influence over the villagers to the point of convincing them of doing anything and to make himself greatly feared by them. In The News Is They Are Coming, Futaki and Mr. Schmidt are forced to cut off their plans to escape with the money of the villagers' farm as a result of Mrs. Craner telling them of the discovery of Irmas' return. Futaki is seen reflecting on the character of Irmas with great fear, saying at one point, quote, "He could turn a pile of cow shit into a castle if he wanted to," end quote. The divine influence of Irmas is symbolized heavily throughout the film. In Knowing Something, the doctor catches a glimpse of Irmas and his companion's arrival before he blacks out in the forest. In the 3 middle chapters concerning Estique's death, the villagers burst into an impromptu feast at the tavern in fear of Irmas' imminent arrival. Precisely because of their fear of him, as well as their inherent mistrust of their neighbors, they fail to see Estique in the woods outside as she first watches them from a window, proceeds to cry to the doctor for help, and subsequently kills herself. Further on, Irmas makes use of his rhetoric to persuade the villagers to hand him all of the money they had earned at the collective farm, pledging them into the guilt of Estique's death. In many scenes, Irmas appears as a knowledgeable and worldly person capable of manipulating the villagers, but also fearful of people less naive, such as the captain and, to an extent, Futaki. Repressed fear of true authority from Irmas can also be seen in Going to Heaven Having Nightmares, when he encounters the ruins where Estique committed suicide. While he's ignorant of the event that took place in the ruins, Irmas nonetheless bows before them, almost instinctively as an acknowledgement. The fact that the villagers are aware they have lost all prospects of stability, but are still willing to follow Irmas due to his leadership, places him in the position of an archetypal false prophet with more satanic traits to him than divine ones. Similarly, the character of the Doctor wields an important symbolic side of the film's themes, appearing as a man of culture and developed interests. The old Doctor is past the point of disillusion of the village, staying indoors most of the time and behaving antisocially. The Doctor only decides to go out after running out of brandy, and his choice is deeply regretted when he is met with hostile weather under the cover of darkness and collapses. In the perspective from the front, the villagers remember they have left the Doctor in the desolate village, although he was actually in the hospital. And Fataki's suggestion is that they leave him behind to starve. The Doctor seems to be deprived of the villagers' indifference. In spite of his hostile behavior towards Mrs. Craner, he attempts to help Mystique before she commits suicide and is disturbed enough to investigate the ringing of the bells in the circle closes. Out of the entirety of the village's inhabitants, the Doctor seems to be the only one willing to accept death, as he chooses to remain in the abandoned village, perhaps to starve, rather than follow Irmas. Sátántangó has garnered virtually unanimous acclaim from critics since its 1994 release, and grew in reputation among American art house circles following the release of the director-approved 2006 DVD from Facets Video. It currently has a 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Tarr's direction has been a frequent subject of praise. Ed Halter called Tarr, quote, one of filmdom's criminally undersung geniuses, end quote. In referencing the film's ominous and illusory tones, Halter wrote, quote, Tarr's overwhelmingly bleak makes Robert Bresson seem like an upbeat party animal by comparison, end quote. In the New York Times, Manohla Dargis lauded the director's use of long takes. Jay Hoberman of The Village Voice described it as, quote, one of the great, largely unseeable movies of the last dozen years, end quote. And Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Chicago Reader has called the film his favorite of the 1990s. Susan Sontag described Sátántangó as, quote, devastating and enthralling for every minute of its 7 hours, end quote, adding that she would be, quote, glad to see it every year for the rest of her life, end quote. In the 2012 Second Sound Critics poll of the greatest films ever made, the film tied for 36th place, with 34 critics having voted for it. The film has developed a cult following among certain audiences, due in part to its artistry and length, but also to its having long been unavailable on DVD. The film was only briefly out in VHS and DVD formats in the 1990s and went out of print very quickly, initiating a period in which only bootlegs transferred from old VHS sources were available. It has since been released in a new transfer supervised by Tarr, which is what I own. Sátántangó is rarely screened in theaters due to its lengthy running time. Theaters generally show the film in either in 2 separate parts or in its entirety with 2 intermissions. Tarr has expressed a wish for the film to be viewed without any interruption. The scene in Unraveling when Mystique kills her cat led to some difficulties in getting the film shown in the United Kingdom due to legislation protecting non-human animals from cruelty and the British Board of Film Classification refusing to certify such films. Tarr has insisted that there was a veterinarian on set at all times and the cat was under the vet's supervision and was not killed. Oh, that really didn't take me that long to read, now that I think about it. I just felt like a lot. I'm gonna say this. It deserves 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I genuinely loved this movie. It took me 5 days to watch. I purposely took my time with it because I knew if I forced myself to try and watch large chunks of it, I would get tired and burnt out. So I purposely watched an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at a time. And if I got tired of it, then I would stop watching and come back to it another, later in the day or the next day. because I knew otherwise I was just not going to want to finish it. But yeah, this film is just incredible. It's so fucking good. I added it to my Letterboxd favorites, like my 4 favorites after I watched it. Like it's so fucking good. Like I can't even like put into words how good it is. You know, it is worth every single minute. I can't imagine this film with anything cut out. Like it straight up is. You know, like you ever watch a film and you're like, you know what, that runtime is perfect. That's what this is. You know, because sometimes you go into really long movies and you're like, they could have cut all this out. They could have cut the movie in half, and it would have been better. That's not the case with this one. This one, I'm actually like, the runtime is understandable. Um, which honestly, I can't believe I'm saying. But yeah, this movie is just, holy shit, it's good. It is, I don't even, like, this review is going to end up being short because I'm just so, like, obsessed with this movie now. Oh, ignore that. I didn't realize this was one of those. Ignore that noise that just happened. I opened a bottle of sake. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to figure out how the cap worked. And I ended up opening the whole bottle. That's what that noise was. I mean, in the spirit of the film, I guess I can drink a little bit of sake. I can't really because it's almost 11 o'clock and I have to work. But imported by and bottled in Rochester for Taiku Sake. I always wondered how that worked. Do they send like barrels? Because it's imported, but it's so like they make it in Japan and then what, like import it in barrels and then to New York, and then in New York they bottle it. Because I don't actually know. Taiku Junmai is a premium Japanese sake produced at the famed Uminayado Brewery, located between the Katsuragi and Nijo Mountains in Nara, Japan. The sake is crafted from premium sake rice, polished to 70% soft, pristine, iron-free water. Iron-free water, famed 901 yeast, and handmade koji. Fresh and balanced taste with subtle pear notes, leaving softness on the palate. Oh my god, it has like acidity numbers. The SMV. What is that? Let's Google that. What is SMV? Sake meter value. It measures the density of sake compared to water. Oh. Oh, I am learning things. The SMV is 0.1 plus 1.9. Together with the SMV, the acidity level is used to determine the characteristics of each sake. The higher the number, the richer the sake becomes, and the lower the number, the lighter its taste. The acidity is 1.1, and the amino acids are 1.1. I don't know anything about amino acids. 15%? Oh my god. 15%? I only bought this one because I was looking for this lychee flavored one, and I went to Target, Walmart, and H-E-B, and they didn't have it, even though I know H-E-B supposedly sells it. And then I went to Sprouts and was like, I'll just buy this one and try it. And then yesterday I went to a liquor store and actually found the lychee one. The lychee one is only 8%. Hana sake is a premium sake with refreshing fruit flavors. It contains no preservatives. This wonderful blend of delicious fruit flavors makes Hana sake a delightful drink for all occasions, served chilled or on the rocks. It doesn't have any of those percentages on here. It doesn't. I don't know. The label is smaller on here. I just wanted this lychee one because I tried it at this Japanese restaurant and I fell in love with it. So I was on the hunt to buy a whole bottle. And now I know where to buy it. Not at HEB or Target. It's got a twist cap like a wine bottle though, so I don't open it. Let's try this one. Oh, that was good. Oh, I feel warm and tingly inside already. That is really good. I'm sure it would be better if it was cold. I did not mean to open that. Let me close it. That was actually really good. I know I don't sound like it, but if there's anything you guys have learned in the history of this podcast, it's that I can't drink any alcohol without reacting. I like, my body never gets used to the taste, even if it's something that I like. It always shocks my body. Anyways, I'm gonna go to reviews on Letterboxd because I haven't done that recently. And I would like to keep doing that. So I'm gonna say this much. It is hard to find a low review of this movie. That's how good this movie is. There are no bad reviews. Well, there are. But it has an average of 4.4 stars on Letterboxd. That's how good this movie is. I'm trying to find that person's username is entered the void. They gave it 5 stars and said not long enough. That's exactly how I feel. I'm trying to find a review that doesn't look like a whole essay. I hate this. Okay, Christy, I'm gonna call you out right now. Christy gave the film 4.5 stars, and it says rewatched. But Christy said, I'm not taking their review seriously, because this is what it says. It says, I have never watched Sátántangó, nor do I ever believe I will have the time. This rating is for American Horror Story Freak Show. Then why did you review the film? I don't understand people that do that. Like, if a show or another movie references another, like if a show takes inspiration from a movie, like when Victorious did that episode that was like The Breakfast Club, and then rating the movie that they referenced. I don't understand that. I wish I could thumbs down that review. That's how much that annoyed me. Anyways, that's an essay. The first sentence of this one says, I was going to write the longest review I'd ever written. Implying that they're not going to write the longest review they've ever written, but it's still like an essay. So what do their normal reviews look like, if that's considered short? Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to read this one from Jason Huang. Number one Neon Demon fan. Oh my god. I love Neon Demon. Anyways, Jason gave the film 2.5 stars and said double feature with Showa. Nah, just kidding. Fuck that shit. Oh, I actually would have been like, oh my god, you watched them back to back. I honestly don't know if I would have enjoyed this film as much if I didn't watch it with a friend. We split it into 3 viewings based on the intermissions, and by the end of it, my mind was numb. I straight up had no brain cells left. The cinematography is bleakly beautiful. The desolate black and white shots of emptiness are strangely haunting, and I genuinely loved the second act of the film. Estique's character arc was extremely compelling, and I actually felt some emotion while watching her section. In general, you really just lose any sense of time while watching this film. Like a Tango, the film takes 6 steps. Things are almost already mostly filmed in real time, but then later, I don't know. Okay. Instead of a film, Sátántangó feels very much like an experience. If you allow yourself to get immersed in the film, eventually you feel like you're inhabiting the setting of the film after long enough. I just got used to the pacing. I would genuinely be surprised every time a single shot wasn't at least 3 minutes long. It's a really intimate setting, and you feel like you get familiar with almost every character, except for Iramas. Admittedly, I do not find this film to be a masterpiece, as a lot of film lovers do, but I'm genuinely glad I watched it, even though I have some issues with it. I really don't think the movie had a strong conclusion. Maybe it made sense thematically, but I'm definitely not advanced enough in film knowledge to comprehend everything the movie was trying to say. Additionally, I honestly found the movie less than engaging at times, and I'm still unsure what the narration at the end of each chapter added to the film. We'll do more research on this. Did you watch the movie? Have you ever seen a movie with narration on it? The purpose of the narration is to narrate, to help understand it. Anyways, overall, it was still a journey worth embarking on, even if I thought it peaked in the second act during the 10-minute dance sequence. I swear if Kellerman said plotting one more time, I was going to flip shit. This is one of the funniest shots. Oh, it's Link. Yeah. That just reminded me of something. I disagree with like the last part of that review again because I loved it. But the cinematography, like I talk about cinematography a lot, but this film genuinely has the best, hands down, the best cinematography I've ever seen. 100% the best cinematography I've ever fucking seen. Like, I would recommend this movie on the cinematography alone. That's how good it is. But then even then, it's like you said, like Jason said, it's very intimate. It's very immersive. Like the pacing doesn't feel like dead. Like if you watch one of the long takes on its own in a YouTube video, which the first time I saw anything of this film was the sequence of Estique walking for I think like 7 minutes. And the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my god. But then watching the full movie, I was like, holy shit. You know, like if you watch one of the scenes on its own, yeah, it's gonna feel exhausting. But if you watch the film itself, it's like exhilarating in a way. I don't know. It's so immersive. Like it's just, oh, it's so fucking good. It's it's the pacing, like is it fits it so perfectly, and it like it leaves you on the edge of your seat in like a good way. Not in like a, it's not like, oh, I'm so thrilled. You know, it's not like on the edge of your seat like you're watching Fast and Furious. It's like on the edge of the seat, like in a way of like, I'm so into this. I'm so immersed in this film that I feel like I'm watching events play out right in front of my eyes. Like I feel like I'm there watching these events play out. But yeah, I'm glad he mentioned in this review, I'm glad he mentioned the plotting thing. There is, in the scene where they're in the like tavern bar, whatever, Kellerman said plotting at least 100 times, like the word plotting. Like he's saying, I was plotting and plotting and plotting. Yeah. And he said it so many times that it joined the list of words in other languages that trigger me, like manja and principessa. Yeah, that's, yeah. I will say Estique is the best character in this whole film. Obviously, her character arc is the most depressing. But this actress, like, I don't know, it's so, the way this actress does it, it's so compelling. Like, her performance is just so fucking good. Like, it's, you end up, like, almost resonating with her for a little bit, and you feel every ounce of depression that she's feeling. And, like, obviously the cat stuff is messed up. Like, the whole time I was watching that, I was uncomfortable. But it adds to her character arc. Like, it honestly is part of her character in her depression. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read this 5-star review from Hibiscus. Hibiscus said, 5 stars. Sátántangó is now, and it's the future we choose. Be the change you want to see. Happy New Year. They watched it on January 1st, 2020. I would not recommend watching this movie at the beginning of a year like 2020. Not that y'all can go back in time and choose to watch this movie on that day. I'm just, shouldn't watch it, 6 steps forward, 6 steps back. We definitely took 6 steps back in the last 2 years. But yeah, so my review is also, well, it's 5 out of 5 peaches. We don't do stars here, we do peaches. And I said it was well worth the 5 days it took me to watch it while juggling school and work. This film has hands down the best cinematography I've ever seen in any film. I love this film so much. I'm not the same person I was when I started this. It changed so much in me. The sound mixing too. Who knew the saddest plots could sound so calming? Loved every second of it. Call me a newfound Béla Tarr stan. Yeah, the sound mixing is just, it's so, like, obviously the plot of this movie is so depressing. So depressing. And so, like, sad. But the sound mixing and the score are relaxing in a way. Like, you're aware that the sound is supposed to add to the depressing nature, and that's exactly what it does. But in the same way, it makes you feel relaxed. And I guess that's part of the, like, immersive nature. But, like, I don't know how to explain it, because I felt relaxed and calm, even though I knew that the purpose of the sound and this music was, it was depressing. Like, it sounded depressing. It added to the depressing nature of the film. Like, it perfectly matched the plot. But, like, I really don't know how to explain that, because calming makes it sound positive, even though it's not. It's very negative. The tone of it is very negative, obviously. But it just feels therapeutic. What's the word I'm looking for? It feels cathartic, I guess. It feels cathartic in a way, even though, like, the whole time you're watching and listening to the sound mixing, you're aware that it's sad, you're aware that it's depressing, but it's still cathartic. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, that part has thrown me for a loop so much. Like, it's thrown me for a loop, because I'm like, it's relaxing, and but like it's also very depressing. I don't even know. I don't know. And I mean that in the best way possible, because it's not like, oh, they intended it for it to sound depressing, but it actually didn't. No, like it went with the film. It matched. Everything matched. Everything went together. So I don't know. I don't actually know. But I say all that in a good way, because it's not like they missed the mark. No, they hit the mark perfectly and then went even further. Like, I don't fucking know how to explain it. You know, it's a doozy. It's so good that it's a doozy. But yeah, this is honestly one of the best films I've ever seen. And I'm glad that Béla Tarr signed off on a new transfer on Blu-ray so that I could own it and add it to my collection and then review it for you guys. I mean, I guess if I hadn't done this, I still could have reviewed it for a Cult of the Month, but this is better. And also, I don't think I have an opening for Cult of the Month until like July. So, yeah. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening to this. I genuinely recommend this film. This is one of those movies I think everyone should experience once in their life. And I understand, you look at the runtime and you're like, oh, fuck that. Like, obviously, that's how I saw it. And that's why I took my time with it. That's the recommendation I would give. I know, it's split into 3 parts already. There are intermissions in the film where you can pause it and go do what you got to do, or come back to it another day. And of course, Béla Tarr recommends watching it all at once. I watched it over the course of 5 days because I knew that's what I would be comfortable with. I knew that's how I was going to get through it without feeling bogged down. But if and when I do rewatch it, I'll probably watch it in larger chunks now that I've seen it. Now that I've seen it, I'll feel better about just straight up watching it because I know what to expect. So yeah, my recommendation would be to watch it in chunks that you're comfortable with. Like, don't be afraid to take your time with it. But yeah, go into it with an open mind. If you go into a long film like that, like, oh, this is gonna suck, obviously you're gonna hate every minute. Even though the film is good, you're gonna hate it because of how long it is. So just go into it with an open mind. Take as much time as you want with it. It's just, I highly recommend it. I recommend watching it at least once in your life. Whether, you start watching it tomorrow or today or a week from now, a month, 10 years. I would like it if every single person listening to this watched it at least one point in their life and did not put it back. I know the runtime makes it easy to put it off, but I'm telling you, no excuses. Because it is worth the runtime. If it wasn't worth the runtime, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But it is. And because it's the kind of film that you actually can take your time with, it's worth the runtime. So no excuses for saying the runtime makes you not want to watch it. I can understand that. But you can very easily take your time with this movie. So, yeah. That being said, thank you guys for listening. You can find me everywhere at Lucky Peach, LVCKY Peach. And of course, every Tuesday here at noon Central Time. In the description of the episode, there is a link tree that will take you to my Twitter, my Instagram, my Letterboxd, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, the Discord for the podcast, the stickers, and the patreon.com/LuckyPeach. Thank you to my patrons at patreon.com/LuckyPeach. I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you guys for understanding why I had to discontinue. Well, I never actually fully explained it, but why I had to discontinue the drunk commentaries are just my life is too hectic and stressful right now for me to have to like schedule and that stuff. So who knows? Maybe in the future, sometime in the future, I'll bring them back, or I'll make them like a special episode. Maybe like for the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, I'll do a special one. Um, yeah, if you have any recommendations for if I should do them again, or if I should make them special things or whatever, let me know. Or if I should make them exclusively to Patreon, let me know. Yes, that's it. Next week is Streaming Wars. So I will be going over everything releasing in the month of March. You can also find Sátántangó on the Criterion channel. I understand not a lot of people have the Criterion channel. If you do have it, it's on there. Otherwise, you'd have to buy or rent. But I will look up where y'all can, or how much it'll be if y'all rented it. Is it on Canopy? Is this how I'm finding out it's on Canopy? It is on Canopy, but I guess it depends. Because my school apparently does not offer it on their Canopy page. I don't know, because Canopy makes me log in with my school. I don't know, maybe can you have like a regular Canopy account without being attached to a school and just have access to everything on there? Because it's on Canopy. What was I gonna look up? Oh, it's gonna go to Amazon. That's where I go to see the prices of things. I haven't gone to Prime Video from the main Amazon page in years, because I just have like a bookmark to Prime Video. Sátántangó. Oh, it is not. It is not available to rent or buy, but you can get Man from London by Béla Tarr. You can rent it for $3.99 or buy it for $12.99. See how much it is on Apple TV, on iTunes. On iTunes. Why am I not signed in? I got an account. I was putting off getting an Apple TV Plus subscription, and then I ended up just doing it so I could watch one of my films for no, so I could watch Tragedy of Macbeth. That's what it was. Do they not have a search bar? Why don't they have a search bar? Oh my god. Okay, buy, rent, Sátántangó. I'm sure you can pirate it. Okay, on iTunes. On iTunes, you can rent it for €3. Whatever that is in American. So I guess, I don't know, what is that, like $5 American? $4? Either way, I recommend it. I'm sure you can pirate it in some way, which I don't support pirating. I say that I don't, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. But no, Mr. FBI man, I am not condoning pirating, but I mean, if you have no other way to access it, I'm sure you can find it somewhere online. But I do highly recommend it. With that being said, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening, for being here. I'll see you guys next week. Oh, wait. Also in the description, I'm sorry, you can find the link to the stickers, which is Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/the Luckiest Peach. That's it. I don't know why I forgot that. I always forget that one. But it's there in the description. Anyways, thank you for listening. Stay peachy.